Hey, Doug. This is Doug Albert, and I'm Alan Huey from P32 Labs. Doug lives in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Are you a Razorback fan? No.
I'm in Arkansas. You have to be.
Well, um, um, Doug has been a customer of ours for a while, and he's got a story to tell, and I want to let him tell it. And first of all, Doug is a veteran. He served our country, and you can speak a little bit about that if you want to. But we help veterans across the country. We've got some programs we put in place, so we offer some of our products to veterans at a discount. And so we've got a lot of family members that are veterans, and so we hold them in high regard at P32. So, Doug, if you just want to tell us a little bit about your journey uh, as a veteran, and then we can get in talking about your recent diagnosis and your health conditions leading up. How old are you?
I'm 54.
See, I have to.
So
I can't remember my age half the time either. I have to ask my wife. After 50, I kept losing. If I was 54, 53, then as I get closer to 60, it gets even worse. But anyway,
yeah, the
Doug,
worst part is I'm 54-year-old, but I'm like a 30-year-old man trapped in there. It's just
I get it.
yeah,
I get it. Well, especially when I get to play with my grandchildren out in the yard, I realize I've lost a step.
you're right,
But
right.
so you served our country. When were you? You're a veteran.
So 1989, I joined the Navy. Went aviation maintenance.
Yeah.
Served in the Gulf War, right in the middle of Persian Gulf. Wasn't a ground pounder by any means, but working on aircraft, bringing them in. Did that, got out, served some time in the Navy Reserve. Laterally went to the National Guard from there, and was called up in the Army and served a little bit of everything there. So
Wow.
Been in and out of a lot of little places.
Yeah.
Dealing with a lot of chemicals. Let's put that.
Well, I've heard stories over the years about that, and appreciate your service to our country. Really do. It means a lot
Well, I appreciate that.
to us, and I'm sure it means a lot to our audience too. Um, can you? I've known you for a little while. You seem like a pretty healthy guy, but as we get older, things start happening, and um, we've had it in our family. We've had cancer in our family, and stage 4 cancer, and um, it seems that more and more people, as we get older, more and more people succumb to different types of health issues and conditions like that. Do you mind sharing?
Yeah, I don't mind at all. And I think it's important for us to talk about it just because, if you keep it quiet, there's a lot of people out there that they'll be hesitant to talk, and especially in the veteran community, because we were actually, I guess, conditioned. We had medical available to us, but in a way that you were kind of shamed to use it. I mean, you were going to medical, you better have a reason for it.
Yeah.
And a little bit of pain here and there, suck it up, just deal with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and there's a little bit of that. And the VA, which I use, and I want to misnomer, not every veteran gets the VA. A lot of people think that's true. You have to have some kind of service connection to be able to use it, like an injury of some sort. So, in any case, the VA does a little bit of that too, and they're just human beings, doctors in there. But I've had some strange conditions that I was trying to deal with, pain down in the lower area, followed with blood. I've been chasing that for a few years, and they would just keep giving me colonoscopies. And then finally, my primary care doctor there did a PSA check, said, "Hey, this is a abnormal number, and we need to get it checked out." Went to urologist, and he's said, "Nope, we're going to go straight for a biopsy," which man, not a fun thing. But anyway, in that they determined I had prostate cancer, and when you get it in the 50s, that's pretty early.
Yeah.
So, and it can go all over the place. Um, haven't gone through any procedures yet on that, other than calling you and talking to you about. And I remember talking to you about your. Oh my gosh, your what's the right word for it?
The suppositories?
Yes, that's it. Sorry.
Okay.
That's got a mental block on that thing, like I shouldn't be talking about. So the suppositories about how it shrunk prostates, and I'm like, I hear that. That's pretty cool. And I thought, you know what? One of the things I did have was a very enlarged prostate. So I thought, well, it's not going to help me with much else, but it could shrink my prostate. So I called you, and we got set up on a plan to take these. And it's interesting results, because at first I really didn't feel much. First couple days it was kind of whatever, because I'd all stuff where you can have pain decreasement, stuff like that. But in about third day I started noticing the ability to sleep all night without having to get up to urinate all the time. That's actually that right there was almost worth it. And then I noticed I wasn't having the pain like I thought I was, or that I had anyway. And oh man, so I did it full throttle, taking it every day for about a week, and then kind of about every other day after that. And that's kind of where I've been at. And I'll get to the crazy part. I don't know how we'll talk about that one on here. But I will tell you that the pain throughout my body has subsided considerably. I have a lot more energy from this. And what's weird about it is you didn't really know. You're so used to the pain, the fact that, moving your arm up and grabbing something hurts. Every time you bend over, it hurts. And you don't realize that that's just how you've just gotten used to it. So you walk a certain way, you move stuff, and you don't bend over, you don't grab things. As you get older, you start just changing the way you do stuff. Jumping over a stick. Well, you don't jump over a fence when you're 50 years old. You climb over it weirdly. Yeah. You don't. I mean, it's like when
a
you're
ladder
kid,
on both sides.
Yeah, you just sort of like it's a challenge. You're going to try how far you can jump, right? So I have a heck of a lot more spring in my step now. The pain in my entire body is just considerably dropped. I'm not taking anything else. So there's really nothing else I could point to and say, this is it. And I'm certainly not physically in a better position. I have cancer. So, but the pain is not throughout my whole body. And that's remarkable. And there's been other things I've taken that have gotten some of those results. This was one of those kind of unexpected. I didn't expect that issue to go away.
You mentioned having to get up and go to the restroom during the night. How often were you having to do that?
You know what? The crazy part is it really depended on how much water I drank before I went to bed, because you'd meter that. I'll be like, I'll drink a whole bunch of water an hour and a half before I go to bed, because I want water in me. And I'd still end up getting up 2-3 times. So I'm back to where I'm drinking water right up to where I go to bed. I'm sleeping through the night, and I'm not getting up because I got to get to the bathroom. So right. And that's from that inflammation going down. And a problem also that I just got used to, right? It's just a normal thing. I'm old, so I go pee all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've got we have customers that they got almost the exact opposite. They have the need to empty their bladder often. Then we have other customers that they can empty the bladder when they get up to urinate in the morning. So when they get up, they have to stand over the toilet 15 or 20 minutes. and they can't do it, and they use the suppository and at night, and they say when they get up, and what's going on there is that the prostate is swollen, it's putting pressure there on the urethra, and just basically shrinks the tunnel, and
Right.
the guys, we can't go. So we're seeing both sides of that. We're getting it where basically the bladder's actually able to function like it wants to, like it needs to, and we're also reducing bladder spasms with some people that have some issues with that. And so, you know, being able to sleep all night is a big deal. You know,
Oh yeah.
it's if I get up once a night, I really don't like it. If I get to sleep all night, it's probably because you said I really didn't drink that much. And we try to hydrate. I know a lot of guys that have to go to the restroom often. They would literally cut back their water intake. So then they get on the threshold of being dehydrated,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
They so they're kind of pushing the limits on both sides just because um, they don't want to have to get up during the night.
Well,
And
you
because
wake up with dry mouth because you just didn't drink enough moisture or
right,
enough water. Yeah.
that's
So
the first sign I see. Yeah. If
yeah,
I
and yeah, so there's a couple other things too, and you were hitting on. I was thinking about. There's a bunch of little minute things that you may not think about, like when you're going pee, and then you feel yourself trying to push out the rest of the pee, and that is actually a prostate issue as well as when you get done and you feel like you still have a half full bladder. And that's a feeling, by the way, because generally you do empty the entire bladder, and it's just there's something about your prostate telling you, well, you still got something in there, which is what forces you to want to continue peeing. Well, that I don't have that issue, and I was having that too. And that's as far as how everything works there, as far as urinating, going to bed, sleeping all night, and being able to, you know, use function correctly. That's
mhm,
all back to normal, which is the back to maybe how I was in my 30s, so or below or before.
right.
I mean, it's like I just got used to this. I have no idea how long I was dealing with all these things and how long I was inflamed. So
I was reading some research, and Yale's got some research, Harvard's got some research. Uh, I was educated at Cornell on nutritional health, and but um, depending on what research you read, I mean, guys start seeing prostate issues later in their 40s. They start showing signs in the 50s. And that's, usually why the doctors say, hey, at age 40, you really need to go get checked out. That's the kind of sign. And so I think our audience, if you're in your 40s, it's probably good something to listen to. If you got some friends that are in their 40s or 50s, definitely these guys need to listen to this. The the overall pain, inflammation that or the pain from the inflammation or rest of your body. Our research tells us, I'm not a doctor, but our research tells us that uh, the medicine that's in our suppositories actually bypasses the liver, so it's not having to be metabolized. So it quickly gets to go throughout your body through your bloodstream and your lymphatic system. So your lymphatic system travels all through your lymph nodes, and that's one reason that people are seeing such quick results within just a few days of using the suppositories with just overall body pain from the inflammation.
sure, yeah,
And so that was a side benefit that we realized. We created these suppositories when my wife was diagnosed with cancer and stage 4 cancer, and we had studied Eastern medicine. We had studied medicine um, in other countries, and we thought, okay, there's got to be a way that we can work with this. And so uh, we started our own regimen, and um, we can point to the fact after 2.5 years of walking through that, that really helped. In fact, our oncologist told us, whatever you do, don't stop making her these suppositories, and that kind of grew from that to, I started telling some other people, and she started telling other people, and that's kind of how it grew. And then we started to say, maybe we ought to talk about this with guys because, more and more men started calling me. I had doctors sending their patients to us. And I said, well, and all of them are calling back and saying, hey, we're seeing less pain in our prostate. We're going to the restroom less, or we're going when we should. We can empty our bladder. And they are seeing some binary benefits that we didn't anticipate. We didn't really realize that um, male enhancement would be a thing that the men are all telling us. We're seeing, like you said, the overall inflammation from around the body is reduced. We even have women using these because
Sure.
they've got rheumatoid arthritis, different types of pain, joint ligament pain, and so that was some of the things that after talking with you several times, I said, well, let's share this story so other
Sure.
men can realize that, hey, and I'll tell you something. There's only been a handful of guys that really come out and said they enjoy going to the doctor. I encourage people to go to the physician, but I am one of those guys. I won't go unless I absolutely have to. And and but this is self care. We can
Yeah.
try to manage our health at home, and that's one of the benefits of this is that number one, you got to try to get an appointment. I mean, guys just seem to you know most of the guys I know anyway, they would rather try to manage their health themselves.
Well,
And
especially when you were talking about that area. I mean,
oh yeah,
yeah. I mean, I would tell you that in kind of a personal area, I had a friend of mine that when I went for my first colonoscopy, we went to a football game together afterwards, and we were up in the stands watching our kids play, and he goes, "Oh, I wouldn't do that. It's, it was something stuck up your butt or whatever." And I'm like, "Well, come on, man. Prostate cancer is 100% stoppable if you just go get a colonoscopy." And so a lot of times they'll give it to you, and you'll say, "Well, come back in 10 years, we'll give you another one." So it's right. The fluid sucks. It's really not that bad of a procedure. Well, 5 years later, he died of colon cancer, and because he just didn't go and get it, and it's absolutely just tears me apart because he was such a great guy that he just refused to do it because he's like, "I'm not doing that. I'm not letting anyone do that to me." And it was 100% curable. All he had to do was get that test. They come through, they do, some biopsies, and they take out anything that's going on in there, and they can tell you if you're going to have an issue.
yeah,
So, it's hard to talk about that. And I'm not going to say that sometimes the urologists don't make it weird. You get in there and they're going to just be point blank because they talk about it all day, and they're going to go, "Oh, how's this and how's this?" And you'll be like, "Oh my God, I just met you. We're going to talk about this stuff."
yeah, I know.
But yeah, like just get over it. And it's I mean, as you get older, I mean, it just seems like you just gotta just be like, all right, fine, let's talk about this, whatever. Because I tell you what, you catch these issues early on. It's like prostate cancer. Hardly anybody dies of prostate cancer because if they catch it, it's they've got so many paths to taking care of it.
Yeah, yeah,
So, and the part about those suppositories that I was surprised from was all the other stuff it helped me with.
yeah,
And the fact that the pain in my body is, and I want to tell you, I don't take pain medicine. I don't like it. I don't like the way it makes me feel. I don't like getting sick from it. So, I mean, and I'm with the VA, right? 10 years ago, if you had a pain, the VA would prescribe you a bottle of hydrocodone that was the size of it's like a cooler. And the stuff used to go bad in my shelf in my medicine cabinet because I just wouldn't take it.
right. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And add insult to it, they used to mail it to you. So they mail you another whole bottle of it.
You kidding me?
Oh my gosh. And yeah. And now they're like, well, we're only going to give you 5.
I cracked some, I torn some ligaments around my rib cage once. I was pitching to my son. He had a baseball line drive right back in my rib cage. First time
All
I ever
right.
saw stars. And so go to the doctor, and he says, "Man, there's nothing we can do for your rib cage. You just sleep in a recliner," because I could not get up. I just
All
couldn't lay
right.
down. Well, I could lay down, but I mean, there wasn't no getting up. He prescribed some opiates. I mean, it was like I can't even remember the name of it. I think it was might have been hydros. And so we've been working in addiction recovery ministry for over 15 years, and so probably this is probably 10 years ago. And so I said, "Man, I don't want any." He said, "You're going to really want these." And well, I get home, and she says, "What did the doctor say?" I told her. Kim says, "Hand me the bag." She literally went. She took the pills out of the bag. She ripped up the script. She took the pills, flushed them down the toilet. She goes, "You're just going to go sleep in the recliner and tough it out." And that was it. She gave me some Tylenol or some Advil or something like that. And I've already got addicted personality. I'm drinking coffee, and
Right.
I'm probably addicted to coffee, but I have cut it back a lot. But no, I'm not. I'm like you. I don't want to take an opiate, and that's we try to encourage people. Say, look, we can tackle pain in a natural way,
Right.
and God gave us plants, and we leverage plants, and we leverage the medicinal value of our plants, and if you think about it, I mean, hundreds of years ago, what did people do? 1,000 years ago, biblical times, what do people do? We use plants for a medicine, and so that's kind of what we do. We try to leverage the plants and try to encourage people to say, look, we could take a holistic path uh, to relieving our pain. And unfortunately, my doctor told me this 25 years ago, probably. He said, if a man lives long enough, he's going to have prostate problems. He may not have cancer, but he's going to have a problem with his prostate. And so um, I'm glad it's helping you, man. I really
Yes.
am. That's
Yeah. So much happens in the prostate. I was really surprised. It's like a Grand Central Station. So you're bound to have some kind of an issue there. Yeah.
yeah,
And so for what I understand is on prostate cancer, uh, it seems like most men will get prostate cancer in their 80s or late 70s, and at that point, it's not worth messing with because it's not, as the doctor, my urologist told me, is most people die with prostate cancer, not because of prostate cancer.
yeah.
Except you get in the 50s, well, you're not gonna you're gonna live longer than that's. It'll metastasize into something way worse if you don't handle it. So
Right. Well, we're gonna keep praying for that doesn't happen. We got talking about holistic health management, home health management. I know that you've got a history. You've done some holistic health yourself. So, I mean, that was something you embraced, I reckon, years ago. And what led you down that path? I mean, is it something you did as younger in life, or is it something that
oh
you just,
no, I'm gonna give most of that credit to my wife.
oh,
She's
yeah?
she's been yeah she's been more on that stuff, and I was a good little soldier, but they told me to take. I mean, I'll give you an instance when my disc bulged really bad. Where it was, they couldn't do surgery on it, so the doctor put me on, man, 2 hydrocodone every 6 hours, and every 2 hours taking diazepam. Holy mackerel! I'm going to tell you, I was on that for a week and a half, and I couldn't tell you anything about that time period.
Oh,
I
no.
wasn't even a human being. So we started making, and we've had to make a lot of diet adjustments in our time period. I mean, I ended up with alpha gal like 3 years ago, which is an
Hmm.
up and coming terrible thing. And now we know how to prescribe it and changing your diet completely, which is it's a radical change. But start noticing how things react with your body. And, they're recognizing that, hey, we shouldn't be eating seed oils. And we shoved that down our throats in the 80s. And yeah, now we're coming back and saying, oh, you know what? Back when we used to use lard, your brain worked better. I mean,
Well, I tell you, if you look at the processed food and ultra processed food that we consume, and we look at, I think I read something in the early '60s there wasn't any or very few kids with type 2 diabetes,
right.
and now that number's through the roof. And it has a lot to do with our diet. I know that when she was diagnosed with cancer, she immediately went on a plant-based diet, and we know a lot of stories about people who swap to plant-based diet just because we want to clean our body out. We want to get rid of any toxins that are there because obviously cancer feeds off sugar, and so immediately sugar. And we went with plant-based and started the suppositories immediately. And within a couple of weeks, our oncologist told her that her cancer was no longer growing. So we just had to deal with the cancer that we had. And so basically we stopped feeding the cancer. And so there's probably a lot of people walking around with a certain type of disease that we're feeding it with our diet. And
Right.
I heard something the other day. If you can't read or understand or know what's on the label of your food, maybe I ought to reconsider not buying it or not eating it. It's so we're really not vegetarians to date. We're probably more like flexitarians. Every now and then we'll have some meat and some fish and
Sure.
things like that. But we try to stick to vegetarian diet as much as we can. But I think our diet has a lot to do both with our physical health and our mental health. I can tell you, and I think maybe more and more people are coming around to that. I think more people are looking at their diet and they're seeing
Right.
what's going on. They're seeing what's going on. Well, the we're seeing some results from some things from men. I don't know how do you talk about this, but older men are telling me that when they're after they've been using the suppository for a week or two, that their male enhancement has increased, and we're seeing a we're we're seeing.
Sorry, the whole family just kind of came in right now.
That's all good. I got a dog around here somewhere, and
Right.
and so that is something that's pretty interesting that we had no idea.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy. But when we hear these stories from these guys that are coming and telling us, hey man, these guys are saying, hey, I'm 72 years old and I'm performing like I did when I was in my 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
And
that was an unusual find on this thing. Yeah.
and I was like, well, and so we ended up, we don't know how that happens. We've got some other doctors looking at this because they're actually trying it and themselves because they're older too. And we think that maybe the inflammation from the prostate and the bladder is probably restricting the blood flow. And so we got a good idea. That's probably what's going on with that.
Yeah, I don't know how you put that on the bottle, but if you could put that on the bottle, this yeah, I don't know the wording for that. And if you could put it, if you could put it on the bottle, this would be flying off the shelves. It's a yeah, we'll have to figure out how to get that on there, how that makes sense.
Speaking of the bottle, here's what it looks like right here, and inside are 10 suppositories, and they're pretty easy. Just rip it open, and they peel off like a banana peel. And we tell everybody to keep them in the freezer or the refrigerator, and that way they stay a solid state. And so, made out of 100% uh, natural plant-based material. There's no chemicals in them, so we don't have to worry about chemicals or anything like that. So that's the makeup of the suppository. So
yeah, I thought the fact that it was, you said it being kept in a freezer, I thought that was going to be weird. Honestly, it's not. I just want to get that out there because that was my thought. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to stick this frozen.
No, they warm up quick. They warm up quick. A lot of guys, what they'll do is they'll just, after they peel it out, they'll just run underneath the water for, just to get it wet. Then they insert it and they go to bed. Sure. So do you use yours right before you go to bed?
Yeah, I do. That makes the best sense anyway. You're not going to be moving around or whatever. I mean, I'd imagine you could probably do it in the evening. It's not a big deal. I mean,
well, we've got customers that use them 2 a day. They use them in the morning and at night, and they really don't have any issues with it at all. But one reason I encourage people to use it at night is because the body is sleeping, and so the medicine go to work right then. You're not burning the energy or anything like that. So, well, man, you got a great story. You got a great story. You've been through a lot.
I appreciate it.
And I think that more and more people find out the benefit of these suppositories, and the more men out there want to address home health themselves, they want to try to manage their health themselves instead of going to the doctor. That's a benefit they could do too. So,
right. Well, more people just need to actually be, open to trying things. But it's the biggest thing is, man, if you feel like you got an issue, you should be talking about it. And, taking this stuff is amazing, but also check with your doctor because, might have some issues you need to deal with.
That's exactly right. And so, most of the men, they'll call me up and says, "Hey man, I think I got a problem." And I said, "Well, your prostate?" And they said, "Yeah, I've got some pain, my lower back, and I'm having a problem urinating." And within, like you said, usually the first week I've had some guys call me after 2 or 3 days. "Hey man, I'm back to normal."
Yeah.
And in your situation, I think it took about a week. And then they just started going every other day or using it 2 or 3 times a week. And then after that, it just seemed to stabilize and the inflammation and pain went away. So,
well, something to look at too is prostatitis, and which was the first thing they tried with, and it didn't help. And then, I guess prostatitis can be an infection, but it can also just be considered a large prostate. Man, they really just don't have a lot out there to help that.
Right.
They'll give you, just some over-the-counter medicine, try to help you out. Most of it just kind of makes it worse. The side effects are just kind of terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they gave me antibiotics at first. Didn't make anything different. Of course, I didn't have prostatitis, obviously.
Speaking of side effects, do you have any side effects from the suppositories?
I can't imagine of any.
Okay.
Yeah, unless the side effects are the pain in my back, arms, and legs isn't there. So I didn't know I had been dealing with, and suddenly I don't have a problem with. So I jumped out of the back of my truck yesterday, from a tailgate to the ground. That is something I wouldn't have done 3 months ago, because I'd have been hit the ground and I'd have hit straight to my knees. So I'm not saying I'm going to do it a lot, because I still remember the pain I get from it, but I'm just surprised I jumped. And that night I was able to still sleep instead of just reeling in pain from doing something stupid, right?
Yeah, sometimes we think we still got it, and
right.
Like and they make our truck beds a lot higher nowadays than they used to.
Right.
I got a picture of me in old '87 Silverado. I'm leaning down into the bed, on the side of the truck, and of course these days you have to climb up on the tire or roll the
Mhm.
tailgate and crawl up in the bed of the truck just to get something out of it. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And they're high, and when they start putting steps
Right.
on the bed of your truck or in the tailgate of your truck, I've got them both. And it's like
Every year 1 inch taller. It's
what my sons call it? They're in their 30s, and I've got a tailgate with the step in the back. You pull out, it's a Ford truck, and you pull it down, and it just steps down.
right.
You know what they call it? They call it the old man step. Oh, Dad's using this old man step. I said, oh, well, we are where we
Yeah,
are, aren't we? We are where we
that's
are.
right.
Well, man, I really do appreciate your time. I really do
Yeah.
appreciate you serving our country and being a veteran. And we continue to pray
Well,
for you.
thank you.
And we're glad the medicine's working for you. And thank you for sharing your story, because I think if more guys take a proactive approach to their health, especially the prostate and that area down there, uh, they might be able to avoid some issues. And like you said, get your PSA check, get to the doctor,
Right.
and that's a good thing. Keep us updated, man, on how things are rolling with you. If there's anything we could do for you, let us know.
I sure will. I sure
Uh,
will. I thank you for your time, buddy. I appreciate you. I appreciate you working on this stuff, by the way. It's I mean, more people need to be taking it.